Hey guys, what's up and how's it going? Hope you're all doing well. As you can see, this is a little bit of a different video than usual. I usually just do the closet quickies, but I decided that every 10 episodes of the podcast, instead of doing a closet quickie the week after, I'm gonna do another episode, sort of like the intro episode of the podcast. Then I talked about my top 10 most personal movies to me. Some of them are my favorites of all time, as will some of them on this list be, but they're also just movies that mean a lot to me and have some sort of personal story to them. So, without further ado, we'll get into it. Another five most personal movies. First, I wanted to shout out Dunkirk on this list. So, if you if you listen to the podcast, you've heard me talk about Dunkirk so many goddamn times. I got the poster right here. I just love this movie so much. And the reason why this movie belongs on this list for me is it's one of the first movies that really got me into film review. I used to write reviews. I would just type them up on Google Docs and post them onto my Twitter and such like that. And, obviously not very many people read them and such, but it was really fun to do. And it really started to get me thinking critically more about movies because, as I've told on the podcast as well, when I watched it the first time, watched it with my family and some of their friends, and basically none of them liked it at all. And I was really just in love and enamored by it. So it really got me thinking about movies more critically and more on a personal level to why I thought I loved them so much, and that really meant a lot for me and my moving watching experience going on. And so I just owe a huge lot to that movie, and I just love it so much. Next movie I wanted to shout out on this list is Me and Earl and Dying Girl. Now this movie is so great. This is really a real film nerds movie, I think. I first watched this when I was probably 12 or 13 and I really fell in love with it. It has the perfect mixture of funny, nice like film jokes in it as well, and alongside being a really great just indie high school movie with really great characters. And obviously watching this during my middle school and high school times was really influential to me in that way. And it was also just really important in the movie. The two main characters make a lot of spoof movies, and that honestly introduced me to a lot of classic movies that I'd never heard of, like Fitzcarraldo and Midnight Cowboy and some other ones, A Clockwork Orange, at that time that I hadn't seen and that I've fallen in love with over these years. And so I owe a huge lot to that movie, of course, for not only introducing me to those movies, but just really building my love of movies. And that was one of the movies for a long time that when asked, what's your favorite movie of all time, I would go with Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, because I just think it's such a great, heartfelt movie that always manages to make me cry. It's just so incredible, I think. It was basically my perks of being a wallflower because yeah, I didn't watch that movie. Only I didn't watch that until like probably 2 years ago, and I loved it. But this movie was that real high school indie drama movie that really spoke to me and really meant so much to me at that time. Next on the list, I had to shout out The Sisters Brothers. Now this movie is really great. And the reason why I wanted to include it on this list is because of my theater going experience, which was so incredible and just has such a great memory tied to it. When I was 18, after I graduated high school, the summer after, me and one of my best friends, Blake Guerrero, shout out to him, we went on a backpacking trip around Europe. We went around France and Italy. It was like a 20-day trip, and it was just one of the best trips of my life. I've been really blessed though where I can travel. I've been able to travel a lot in my life, which has been so incredible. And that trip was just like no other. And when we were in Reims, France, I still am not 100% sure on the pronounce on how to pronounce it. Reimes though. In France, this beautiful town. They had this great little theater in the middle of the town, and we got to catch the Sisters Brothers there. And it was just a really great experience. I do honestly look back on it a little bit, almost wishing we went and saw a foreign movie while in France. We did obviously go see this American movie, but it is still just such a great movie. I was initially drawn to it because of the incredible score, by Alexandre Desplat. I've been a huge fan of him ever since I noticed his wider range of work on a lot of Wes Anderson movies, and I'm just in love with him. And then it also has a really great cast of John C. Reilly, Joaquin Phoenix, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Riz Ahmed. That's the core four who really hold it down together. And it's just a really, really well put together, well made movie that's just so fucking enjoyable. And that experience of seeing a movie at this foreign theater, it was just this beautiful theater as well. It was just such a great time. And I'll always look back fondly on that theater going experience. And this is his brother's movie. Next up on the list, I got My Neighbor Totoro. Now, this movie is so just heartfelt and loving. I've only seen this once, and it's this one time, and it's another movie that I just have a very vivid memory of me and another one of my best friends, Jace. When we were probably 10 or 11, we were both really getting into anime, and we would watch a lot of anime on this one site called GoGo Anime, and we would watch a ton of movies and TV shows on there. And I remember us watching it on my really shitty laptop, laying down in my bed watching this movie, and it just being such an absolute joy of a movie. You know, it's really just such a beautiful, heartfelt story, and that memory of watching it with one of my best friends and just feeling such joy and the love while also really introducing my love of the style of anime. I've always been a really big fan of anime movies and TV shows, and that was really one of the main kickstarters for it. In that time, watching it with Jace on my bed, with my really shitty laptop, was just such a great time, and that I look back on so fondly. So obviously, huge shout outs to My Neighbor Totoro. Last movie on the list is The Babadook. Now, this is kind of a curveball for all of them. This movie is really fucking scary, I think. I am a big fan of this movie, but it is one of those, kind of like the Sisters Brothers on this list, where it's maybe not like my favorite movie of all time. You know, I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I have some really great memories attached to it. And specifically on this one, I was about probably 15 years old, I think, 14 or 15. I was with a huge group of friends, you know, back in the day when we used to be able to have gatherings and friends, pre-COVID, obviously. I had a big group of friends over, and I believe I had a date over as well. And so, you know, we decided to watch a spooky movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, fucking, I can watch a spooky movie. And at that time, my love for horror movies that I have now had not blossomed, and I was fucking terrified of most horror movies I saw. And this movie was absolutely no exception. I just so vividly remember sitting there and everyone either like talking throughout the movie or laughing and just kind of having a good time with everybody, while I'm just sitting there just shitting my pants with fear, just scared out of my fucking mind. But at the same time, the movie has a really, really beautiful, while albeit really fucked up and sad story, I think. It was a movie in my early on horror days that really proved to me that the genre can just be more than cheap scares. It can provide these truly terrifying fears inside of you while also providing a really rich emotional story. And the Babadook does that on so many different levels. And so I'm just a huge fan of that movie, definitely. Anyway, that's gonna be it. That's the 5 movies. I'll run back down them one more time. I got Dunkirk, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, The Sisters Brothers, My Neighbor Totoro, and The Babadook. Huge shout out. I love all those movies, have really great memories tied to them. And yeah, man, it's really fun to talk about these and just think about, you know, memories I have of watching movies, because especially watching movies with other people, because that's really you know, what it's all about, is just sharing art with yourself and others and experiencing it. And it's such a great thing to do. And I'm so glad I know people around me that also love to watch movies, and I have these great experiences around them. So yeah, check out any of all those movies if you want to. Obviously, in it'll be 20 weeks, I'll be doing another one of these. It's going to be in quite a while after episode 20 of the podcast. I'll do another one of these. But if you also want to check out some more personal movies I have that mean so much to me, another 10, go check out the intro episode of my podcast. It's on all streaming services and YouTube. I talk about another personal top 10 of mine. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thanks for listening. If you want to obviously check out the podcast on YouTube and Anchor and Spotify, any other streaming services, in the closet WJN at Instagram or Twitter. If you want to join in on the conversation for next week's podcast, we are going to be reviewing Revenge of the Sith and then ranking all of the Star Wars series. So that's going to be a really fun one. So if you want to send in your lists of the Star Wars series ranked and a review of Revenge of the Sith, remember in the closet WJN. If you want to participate, also you can follow me on Letterboxd, Twitter, or Instagram, Jacob Nestor 568. You'll find me on there. And also, last thing I wanted to shout out is this beautiful little painting I got right here. It's a more of a drawing actually, but by one of my good friends, Devin. I'll put her link down below. She makes really stinky art, and it's really great. She's a really incredible artist. And when I post a picture for this video, I'll post a more close-up picture of what the art actually is. But it's a little doodle she did for me for the podcast. So huge shout out to her. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys. See ya.